So today is a no frills, no crazy editing video because I really wanted to talk about some of the struggles I've been experiencing lately as a self-employed independent artist. I was not a part of any layoffs really in terms of getting laid off or whatever, but I was still wrapping up on a project. I already knew I had an end date since the beginning of that job, and ever since then, I've just been kind of doing my own thing. If you watched my previous video about quitting animation ? I am not quitting animation, but I am just basically in a position where I am pursuing my own path while leaving a door open for the industry. If an opportunity that makes sense comes along, I will gladly, consider it and see what happens. But it's not something that I'm going to spend every living second of my day applying to jobs. When there have been other opportunities for me still regarding my artwork that have allowed me to monetize it and create a living, so I just personally felt it did not make sense for me to continue just applying to job applications when really there's been this other path for me, which is doing book publishing and social media, which has allowed me to develop some sort of income for me these past many years actually. And it's only really now that I've been given the opportunity to try to see what happens if I take it full force. There's still a lot of struggles that come along with this journey, and I will say that overall I am super grateful for the growth, the community, and how far I've come along. If anything, I thank the version of me back then who decided to start these little silly Instagram comics that evolved into a graphic novel that now sits at Barnes and Nobles, and me just being able to monetize my videos and content on social media. But even though you do get monetized as a independent full-time artist, it's not always going to be the same as when you were working full-time. Especially for me, let me tell you, I was working a full-time animation job while publishing a book, while also working in social media stuff. So imagine how much I was making then. And not that I am really suffering financially now, but at the same time, I'm not making the same amount as when I had all those three things going on at the same time. I'm trying to learn right now how to scale what I have into something that could match what I was making, but there's still a part of me that's still always anxious about the future because there's retirement, and it's always important to have like a certain amount of savings so that you can prepare yourself for an emergency, in which I am grateful to have that. I also have other fears, like I sometimes don't really know if this full-time independent artist career is gonna fully work out, and one day I might just have to surrender back to a full-time job and work at a studio, and everyone's gonna be like, remember the time you were gonna do your own thing, and look at you back at the office. This is definitely a very dramatized version of what actually would probably be reality. But I actually personally don't have anything against a 9-to-5 job. I actually encourage people to do that before doing something independently, but it's still like you have this fear of really wanting to go in on this one thing that you were so hopeful on, but you don't really know it's gonna fully work out, and the last thing you really want to do is to fall back on what you were trying to get away from in the first place. So yeah, there is the temptation of working a full-time job again. I still snoop around the internet and see what storyboard listings there are for job opportunities, and let me tell you, there's really not that many right now. But even still, I've just come to realize that I need to take this leap of faith to do my own thing, because every time I worked a full-time job in animation, I still, when I'm focusing on work, I leave a video on about how to become a full-time independent artist. And of course, health insurance is another thing that gives me somewhat of an anxiety. It's just the act of transitioning to a new insurance, and also knowing that starting from this point onward, if I am really just working for myself, it's all going to be on me to pay out of my pocket, which I also have to budget in with, the rest of my finances. I also just feel like the world of health insurance is so difficult to navigate, and I don't understand why the United States doesn't have a more simplified, straightforward way of doing this without having people trying to sell certain things to you, especially when it comes to your health. Then moving on to kind of my struggles with social media, because once you become a full-time independent artist, your presence on social media suddenly matters so much more than when you were just kind of using it as a hobby or a part-time thing when you're working a full-time job. Because, you know, no matter what, if I miss a week of posting, if I don't post anything for a week, when I worked a full-time job, it's like, okay, that doesn't matter. You're still getting paid and whatnot. But in a way, your social media is now your way of advertising yourself as an artist and what you are offering that is bringing you income. So for me, it's like bringing in views, bringing in followers, bringing in engagement and likes, because as someone who kind of participates in the world of influencing or just doing stuff on social media where you work with brands and sponsorships, that stuff starts to matter because you kind of need to get these in a bit more consistently. And I've honestly been struggling with that lately because I feel like I've been getting a little bit lost with my content. So losing followers on Instagram has been a big thing I've been dealing with this past few years, actually. I've just been plateauing for, the past 4 years or so. I haven't really been growing. I haven't really been dramatically losing anything. And in that case, I am grateful that I'm even able to sustain a community on Instagram, because I feel like I know of a lot of artists who are not even able to sustain or plateau, and they are just going straight downhill. And I'm trying to remain grateful for that. Growth on YouTube has also been slow for me because, again, I feel lost in here on the content that I'm making as well. You can see I was kind of making art career videos, then I'm doing sketchbook videos, and all of a sudden I'm doing this. And the reason why is because I can really do any type of art related content at the end of the day, but it's been difficult for me to kind of stick with one thing. For some time, I thought that it was because I wasn't showing myself draw enough because I'm an artist, and I would post polls and ask people what they want to see more of from my channel. And even though people answer these polls and people say, yes, bring back those sketchbook videos, or some people are like, yes, bring back vlogs, and these things would get the highest votes, at the same time, I actually have been talking to someone who has been helping me manage my YouTube videos and my content strategy lately. And she advised me that, hey, just because your followers answer these polls, these are not always the best metrics to look at, because these followers or these people that answer these polls are not always 100% reflective of the people who actually watch your content. So I guess I've just been trying to figure out who is watching my content lately, and I know it's a lot of people who are trying to figure out their lives while also pursuing something art related, or at least have art as a hobby. But either way, when it comes to Instagram and YouTube, I will just say that growth has been very slow. It's been fluctuating. There's no stability really right now on either platforms in terms of numbers for me, but I'm trying to figure out a new strategy this year. I also just feel like with the uprise of short form content, which I'm very aware that I need to do to at least keep up with the times and at least bring in more engagement, because I do notice sometimes they are the one thing that helps me bring in new followers occasionally on Instagram. But I will say that when you are an artist and you have to make content and then film yourself making that content and then film yourself filming yourself drawing that content, it gets so exhausting. I feel like your pipeline or your methods or strategies just turn out so chaotic and disorganized that it ruins your flow, and it really leads to burnout. But I can't deny that having to do reels on top of Instagram comics and making YouTube videos has definitely sucked up a lot of my time, and it is not even something that really directly brings me any money. It's more of me making my own personal ads for the internet at this point. And I feel like a big part of my struggles right now is I feel like I've lost a lot of my personality in my content lately, especially in the past few years. And I know that one big reason why is because I am just afraid of saying the wrong things. I am afraid of making mistakes online. I overly worry about that so much just because, first of all, I genuinely don't want to hurt anyone or offend anyone out there. And I know that it's kind of impossible to not do that, because at the end of the day, there's someone who's always gonna have something to say. While I do want to be cautious about the things I say because I genuinely don't want to hurt anyone, I also have to be realistic that I can't be perfect and that it's impossible to never hurt anyone out there. I used to be able to take a lot more risk basically in the past, but as of lately, for some reason, I'm just trying my best to maintain my peace. And I know I should, but at the same time, there are things about that kind of hold me back from being able to show who I really am. Moving forward, I've noticed that the videos that do perform the best here is anything about me talking about money as an artist for reasons that I totally understand. Those are kind of like, it's kind of like an oxymoron contradiction. Like, I think art and money are two things that will always butt heads, and I would love to continue bridging the gap between the two because I personally believe that artists deserve more and should not let their fears hold them back in life from making money and living their lives. My thoughts are, I want to start focusing more on how I make money as an artist, make videos where I break down even more on certain specific ways, because I notice I do make a lot of videos showcasing a list of different ways, but I don't really dial down on each branch as a specific video. In supplement to that, I want to make videos that are, I don't want to say like vlogs because I feel like vlogs have not really performed well on this channel, but just videos that still demonstrate making a living as an artist, but through my personal life, and you kind of see what I go through, what I am able to kind of do or afford in my life, I guess. I don't know. But I do feel like when I am not able to fully be myself on my channel or showcase who I am as a person, my content starts to feel a little bit dull to me because I start to feel like a PowerPoint presentation that's just listing out bullet points. Feel free to let me know down in the comments what you think about this. Like, I would love to encourage more conversation in my videos and just, you know, see how this goes. Anyway, thank you for watching this very unedited video, and I will see you all in the next one.